What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we are less than 10 days away now from the PlayStation 5 releasing, and of course the Xbox as well. We're basically on next generation console countdown. It's exciting stuff when we get new hardware, but of course on the software side, we pretty much have the whole picture for 2020 from Sony, so we're looking forward to 2021 a bit as well. And now it looks like an advertisement from Sony may have accidentally told us about at least one game that's coming out in the first half of 2021, kind of setting up the first full year overall for Sony. We're going to talk a bit about that here today. Also, it looks like Pikmin 3 Deluxe has started out kind of slow now, selling less than the Wii U version did when it first launched in the UK. We'll talk about that here because I saw a lot of Pikmin fans kind of freaking out a bit about this, but there are a lot of things at play here that we'll go over. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. And we're going to start today with a new demo that has released that I think that all RPG fans should at least check out. And honestly, if you're just curious about the series in general, you can start with just this demo and see if it's something you like. And that is Dragon Quest XI S Definitive Edition. It is, of course, the game that released on the Switch. It's the most feature-complete version of Dragon Quest XI. It, of course, came out on the PlayStation 4 and PC well before the Switch version did, and the Switch version was announced forever ago. But it did come out on the Switch, had a ton of extra content, which was great. Even that really cool kind of 16 8-bit look sort of, which is pretty neat. But it is now coming to other platforms December 4th, and there is a full demo, and trust me, if you played it on the Switch, you know what I'm about to say, it is almost an entire game on its own. It's a 10-hour-long demo. And it's out now. You can go download it on the Xbox, the PlayStation, and PC through Steam, and it's exciting stuff to check out. And I did take a quick look at it on the Xbox One X. It appears to be 60 frames per second, PS4 Pro as well, and it looks like it's, of course, a higher resolution, but it is still the Switch version of the game, so it doesn't look as good as what we had on the PlayStation 4 and Steam originally. It seems like they just wanted to move it over and basically just upscale it for use on these even enhanced consoles, and well, it should work on the PS5 and I guess the Xbox Series X as well. But still, the game itself is very, very good, and if you're unsure, just download the demo, and hey, if you have Game Pass, it's going there anyway, so this is kind of a way for you to get a head start on it for your Xbox. Also, there's been a lot of questions around the confusion of the Xbox One S, the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X, the Xbox One X, just the naming of the systems. And of course, we saw the box art, and it was a little strange there, but Microsoft said, oh no, we have smart delivery through digital. Okay, that's fine, I guess, but what happens when a company wants to get confusing all on their own? And that's what Activision's doing. Here, take a look at the box arts here. This is for the Xbox One version of the new Call of Duty and the Xbox Series X version of Call of Duty. Now we have two different ones here because 160 and 170, and I guess these are just going to be on store shelves next to each other because Activision wants you to pay $10 to upgrade from the Xbox One version, but if you buy it on the Series X physically, you get both versions, the Xbox One and the Series X. But remember, that Xbox One disc will still work on the Series X if you pop it in. Just without the extra $10, you'll just be playing the basic Xbox One version without any of the extra next-gen enhancement. It's a weird thing from Activision. I get they want to sell a $70 game on store shelves, but also still sell the $60 version, but what they should have done, because it's cross-gen, just sell the $60 version. Just do that. Just say, okay, and then you just get the upgrade, and that's that. Call of Duty is going to sell a tremendous amount anyway, and obviously they didn't have they didn't want to just push a $70 version out there. But what I see is just a lot of confusion at retail. Wow. I know they have things like the Series X sticker on there and all this, but it doesn't look good from here when you look at those two boxes. So we'll see how this one plays out, but it's just Activision being Activision. Oh, and I wanted to point out something pretty cool with the Xbox Series X after a YouTube video was posted up where a person actually takes the back off of the retail unit, it looks like, for the Series X itself, showing off some of the inside. And one of the coolest things was, it looks like the fan is the first thing that comes out, or it's at least very easy to get out of there. Now, from what I can tell, you still have to break the warranty seal. You have to remove two screws that appear to be Torx driver screws, so that'll be a pain in the first place. It's not like what Sony has with the PS5, where the sides pop off and you take a vacuum to two different spots that appear to catch dust. Now in this instance, you have to take the back off, but then it looks like you can access both sides of the heatsink and even the fan itself to clean it. So these two systems might be some of the easiest ones to clean outright, which is great news because they probably will also build up a ton of heat if they were clogged with dust. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're starting right away with Pikmin 3 and the UK sales charts. Now, Pikmin 3 was the big story here. However, it really should be Watch Dogs Legion. I'll show you why that is here in a minute. Let's go over to the sales charts. I just want to remind you very quickly, these are all physical sales, nothing to do with digital. So they're not tracking digital at all here in the UK. These are all over-the-counter sales of boxed copies of these games. But let's take a look at number one, and yeah, it's FIFA 21 still from last week. Even Watch Dogs couldn't knock it off the top spot, despite FIFA being down about 24%. Basically, everything was just down this week. But Watch Dogs Legion debuts at number 2. Watch Dogs Legion, by the way, was down over 50% from Watch Dogs 2 when that released in 2016. Animal Crossing New Horizons, they're at 3, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 4, Minecraft on the Switch at 5, Super Mario 3 All-Stars at 6, and then finally at 7, we get to Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Now, Pikmin 3 Deluxe is down 18.5% from the Wii U version when that released back in 2013, both of which, by the way, in Europe, released on a Friday. So that's very important. Pikmin 3 had this weird staggered release in Japan, the US, and Europe, all at different times back in 2013. It was a very strange thing. I think it even released on a Sunday in one of the regions. Very, very weird. But Ring Fit Adventure there at 8. Then we have the Dark Pictures at 9 and Minecraft Dungeons at 10. Now let's start with Watch Dogs Legion just very, very quickly. It's down dramatically from Watch Dogs 2. However, I think most of us realize the writing is on the wall for physical copies of games. We are heading towards that all-digital future, whether people like me like it or not. I like my physical copies of games, but I talk to a lot of people now online who are like, no, I just digital everything. We talked to Randy, he does game sharing. It works to get games cheaper, or of course, if you have Game Pass, you might just wait for a game to come to that eventually. It's the way it is right now. It's very convenient, and if you look over at something like Pikmin 3 Deluxe especially, the Wii U wasn't as into digital as we are now with the Switch. The Switch has a reason for digital copies of games, and that is, of course, the overall convenience and the portability of it. So 18.5% when it comes to physical copies. I'm a little surprised still, to be honest, that it didn't at least break even with the Wii U, because this wasn't a particularly strong region for the Wii U at all that I remember. It's odd that Pikmin 3 Deluxe wouldn't be able to overcome the Wii U box copies here in the UK, but I said this before, it seemed weird because even when we had the embargo lift for Pikmin 3 Deluxe reviews, that's when Nintendo put that entire Direct Mini Partner Showcase out that had the Age of Calamity demo and No More Heroes dropping, and no one talked about Pikmin 3 Deluxe reviews. We were all talking about the Direct Mini. It was a very strange time for Nintendo to do that, and I even saw some reviewers kind of mention and complain a bit about that. It's like, why did they release this when the embargo, like it was exactly when the embargo went up. It was very odd. Now, it is still Pikmin, so it's not like one of Nintendo's biggest franchises, nothing like that. They're not like, well, Pikmin 3 has to sell a ton of copies or that's it for the franchise. They have expectations for it. And to be honest, I think we need to wait for more numbers, more information from this. I don't know if Nintendo will mention this game at all during their investors information that is coming up in like 2 days. They'll put out a bunch of numbers for all of their other games, and of course they'll update the overall Switch sales figures, but we'll get Famitsu. Media Crate's now private, but we will get Famitsu numbers, and that'll give us a bit more information as to how this game is doing overall in other regions as well. Now, on the Wii U, from what I saw in Japan, it hit about 92,000 copies in its debut week, so we'll see how the Switch version of Pikmin 3 Deluxe stacks up to that. I think it will do better, but keep in mind, digital has really come a long way for Nintendo since the Wii U, so you never know. Really the big source would be from Nintendo themselves, and if it doesn't make that chart overall, then we'll really not know unless they tell us in some of their, they have like a lot of spreadsheets where they'll tell us all the individual sales for different games way down at the bottom, so we'll keep an eye on it. Again, if Pikmin 4 is really in development like they keep saying it is, I don't think this is gonna stop them from continuing to develop, and honestly, continue rebooting the series, probably. Next up, let's talk about a game for the PS5 that appears to be kind of hinted at, maybe accidentally mentioned in an advertisement for releasing in the first half of 2021, and it's kind of surprising a lot of people based on the developer's history of taking a while to get their games out. That's Gran Turismo 7. There was an advertisement, you could see it here. This was reported by GT Eleanor, and the advertisement itself at the bottom, when translated, reads release scheduled for the first half of 2021. Now this appears to have been an advertisement from PlayStation themselves. It reads Sony PlayStation 5 as an advertisement, and we can see Gran Turismo 7 right there. And of course, the PS5 launches November 12th. And you're gonna see a lot of advertisements for the PS5 on YouTube and other places, specifically this week as we move towards that launch. So sure, they would be showing off games that look visually impressive. Gran Turismo 7, that would be one of them. And it's interesting that at the bottom, fine print, something they didn't even have to put there really, says first half of 2021. And you know what? I'm starting to get a picture for the first half of 2021 with 2 games specifically. I think we'll have Ratchet & Clank, and I think we'll have Gran Turismo 7. Those will be 2 of the bigger games from Sony, maybe a February, and then maybe an April release. And then we work towards something like Horizon Forbidden West, and then we get to God of War. That's a pretty big overall kind of 2021, I would say, for Sony. And then throw Final Fantasy 16 in the mix there, and the PS5 would basically be launching out of the gate. I really think Sony looks at the launch now and is saying, well, look at all these pre-order numbers. We can't keep up anyway. I think we're set right now for the first 3 months. And then we get into February and you want to start looking around, and maybe it is Ratchet & Clank, and then maybe Polyphony, who I thought they'd be working on this thing for a while. They'd do some kind of prologue for Gran Turismo 7 or something. But, of course, we had heard before that some of the work they did on, like, Gran Turismo Sport, as an example, they had, like, 8K renders for cars. They were kind of ready with higher frame rate modes in the first place where they showcased it. Maybe they've been kind of building towards Gran Turismo 7 this whole time. And while we're on the topic of PlayStation 5 games and Ratchet & Clank, it does look like that has been confirmed to be a PlayStation 5 only game. I don't think that's too surprising, but that question came up. We're questioning if God of War is going to be a cross-gen game. Jim Ryan said they're going to support cross-gen with the PS4 up until 2022, so anything you see isn't off the table for the PS4 itself. Horizon Forbidden West, it's also going to be a PS4 game, apparently, but you can see this tweet here. In response, Insomniac Games says it is a PS5 exclusive, that being for Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I think when we saw Ratchet & Clank, we said, okay, they're jumping between dimensions. That seems like it's showing off what the SSD can do in the PS5, and we didn't really see the PS4 doing that kind of stuff. And of course, the visuals look really, really good. So overall, they could be setting up for a pretty solid 2021. And like I said before, Sony still has some surprises. We keep hearing about this Silent Hill game, apparently. Maybe the Game Awards is a good spot to showcase that, or at least announce it and get that set up for the back half of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. Sony's looking to make a big push for the first year or two for the PS5 just to make sure they get a ton of these consoles out there. So let me know how you would set up their 2021. Next up, let's talk about more of the PlayStation 5 features, where of course we saw the showcase with the UI, and they talked about how there would be little developer videos in there to kind of help us if we get stuck. Rather than have to pull out our phone or go over to our computer or something and kind of look up that one spot you're in, and okay, I think we're same progress, right? We're in the same spot. We're facing the same direction. There would be videos that would just be a part of the game that will just kind of guide you through different parts, give you hints even. Well, it looks like Demon's Souls is going to have quite a few of them. Check this out here. Immersion doesn't end with the sensory feedback. Demon's Souls, a famously punishing game, will make use of the PS5's Activities UI, which offers helpful tips regarding certain tasks. Moore says there are over 180 videos, each with increasing levels of visibility into what's needed to complete portions of the game, available via the interface. Stumped? Now you don't even have to leave the screen. Now that's with an interview from Washington Post, and I have to say, when I'm playing Demon's Souls, you get advice, but like you just have to die a lot and eventually get patterns down and strategies down. I guess 180 videos, that is a lot to go through. And again, I asked this before, are all the developers really gonna put that kind of time and effort into it? Demon's Souls is just a punishing game in general. Like, you're just gonna get wiped out over and over again. The idea is that you get better and better at it, and eventually you do win. Like, that's the whole point of these Souls games, is that it challenges you and you eventually overcome that challenge basically through trial and error and just overcoming and getting better at it. So it is going to be interesting to watch. I guess they'll of course give you strategies, weaknesses for different bosses, paths you can take, and maybe even just where hidden collectibles are. And it also sounds like over time, you'll get hints just to help you out if there is a puzzle in your way, and they won't tell you outright. They'll kind of guide you. Maybe an arrow will point you that way. Like you're in the wrong area. No, go this way. Just not to tell you and spoil it completely, just ways to kind of point in the right direction. So it's cool that it's there for people who would be using it, but honestly, games like Demon's Souls or the potential Bloodborne 2, there's only so much they can do to help you. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Fortnite and next generation consoles, that of course being the Series X, the Series S, and the PlayStation 5. It appears that Epic Games will have a list of enhancements ready to go day one for all of the different consoles, and we'll go over some of those here as they did list them on their website. We can see a few here, starting from the top with Fortnite on Xbox Series X and S. They'll have 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, specifically on the Series X, dynamic visuals and physics on the Series X, 1080p resolution at 60 frames per second on the Series S. They also mentioned the overall load times being faster, which will then result in just getting into matches faster. So if everyone getting into a match has an Xbox Series S or an X or even a PS5 there with an SSD, everyone will just get in faster. And that makes sense. And then enhanced split screen on the Xbox Series X and the S, now supporting 60 frames per second. Over on the PlayStation 5, you'll have access to the same 4K resolution, 60 frames per second, as well as dynamic visuals and physics. And they will incorporate that DualSense so that you do have the haptic trigger feedback, as well as, of course, the advanced haptic rumble support, which is really, really cool to see that. They'll also have the ability to use the PlayStation 5 activities where you can jump into certain modes that you have set up. Maybe you just want to play Battle Royale. You can just jump into that immediately without having to go through any other screens, which is great to see. And they will also have the enhanced split screen where you can have 60 frames per second there. The one thing that I looked at and said, wow, it's surprising they didn't try it, is 120 frames per second. That's something we've seen with Dirt 5 as an example. And this is a shooter, so I figured that would be one that would benefit from it heavily, because you want that great reaction time, the fluid motion. So maybe that's something they go back and try at some point, but it is good to see Fortnite having those day one enhancements ready to go for next generation, and they will be moving to Unreal Engine 5, I believe, starting next year. We'll keep an eye on that a little more. Maybe then they'll go back and revisit the overall frame cap going from 60 to 120, but pretty cool to see for a free-to-play game, at least, I guess, on the PlayStation 5. It still has that weird thing on the Xbox. We have to have games with gold to play free-to-play games. Microsoft has to figure that out because it's very strange that they're still just the only ones that do it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Mobeek saying, Streisand effect. Now people knows way more about it, and China clones will show up everywhere. That's for the PlayStation 5 shells. And yeah, you better believe AliExpress, they'll have shells all over the place there. Even on eBay, they'll attempt it. I'll be curious to see if they get ripped down from there, if Sony actually goes around and does copyright strikes on PlayStation 5 shells on eBay. I think, really looking back at this now a bit more, Sony just wanted to put the message out there that they don't want people just making shells without their consent and potential license. People were asking how can they do that. They just patent, I'm sure, the shape and anything, any little things, the tabs even. I'm sure there's a lot of things they can work out. And honestly, even if they can't do that, going through the court system is very expensive and people just don't want to do that. It's not worth the time, the effort, the money, but trust me when I say this, either way, as long as people get the dimensions, I'm sure we'll see shells one way or the other on a website somewhere out there. The Streisand effect, yes, because everyone saw how much interest there was with just different colored PlayStation 5 shells. So someone's gonna take a shot at that business venture again. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whether it is Gran Turismo 7 being one of the first games out in 2021 alongside Ratchet & Clank, would that be a big enough reason for you to go out and pick a PS5 up if you kind of skipped it a bit because of the launch lineup? Also, what do you think about Pikmin 3 Deluxe selling less than the Wii U in terms of physical sales in the UK? Does that surprise you, or are you thinking, well, a lot of people I know are just downloading these games anyway digitally because it makes more sense for a portable unit like the Switch? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.